Hello and welcome back to another edition of On the Marquee. I am John Ballantyne, your host, and this is where we get a chance to talk to some of those people who have helped forge the Playhouse toward their 100th anniversary, which is coming up very shortly. And coincidentally, we have one of those people here today. But before I get to that, I want to thank our sponsor for today, Dr. John Cox and We1's Pediatrics down in Canfield. Now, many of you know our guest today. You've seen her here in various capacities, in shows, you've seen her working in the office, you've seen her doing a lot of different things. I want to welcome Kayla Boye. Kayla, how you doing?
Great, how are you this morning?
Good to see you.
You
Thanks
too.
for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Now, your first show here was Curtains. What prompted you to audition for that show, or get involved in that show?
Well, I was a student at Youngstown State, and I had never had the pleasure of working with the Playhouse my whole youth. I did primarily ballet and did the drama club at my high school, and had no idea that they had a youth program and so many wonderful opportunities for young people. And I had friends. I met Cheney Morgan.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe I saw an audition notice go up. And what a perfect first show to do here, because Curtains is all about the behind-the-scenes love of show business, right? And so I got to watch people like Bernie do their thing, these professionals. Every night I'd be off in the wings watching him work his magic. Someone that had been here, you know, and done so many wonderful productions with the Kenley Players and such, and having that chance to have a professional, high-quality experience at the Playhouse, I was hooked.
Okay. All right. Now, what did you do in the show?
I played the role of Bambi, who is a dancer who does tricks and grand jetés across the stage, and she was the comedic foil, and thus began my typecast. I tend to do the second banana dancer kind of roles.
Those
so
are the fun roles.
yeah, they are the fun roles. I mean, being the lead is hard. I like to do the other stuff when you're on for like 2 songs. You do your thing, and then people laugh. Yeah.
Now, you and I did Mary Poppins a few years ago, which was a fun show, and it was kind of iconic for that time, because not too many places, if anybody, had done it at that point. What do you remember about that show?
Oh my gosh! Well, that was another wonderful experience. Bernie directed, and playing Mary Poppins. It was great to come back in that kind of capacity. Like I said, most of my roles to date had been a supporting nature, and to be in that kind of a position to get to know everyone on every level. And I also helped choreograph with Joanna Andre, being the other co-choreographer. And again, the quality and the caliber of performers that we have here just elevated the whole thing. You might have, it's one thing to say, oh, we have someone playing this role and they're good, but if you don't have an ensemble of people also fulfilling their functions, the show doesn't go. Okay. So it was a privilege for me to be able to work with the large cast that we had, and audiences loved it. I mean, we had full houses, and working with you for the first time in that function.
I think of that show often. In fact, I just listened to the CD a couple days ago.
Well, and some of those songs, I mean, the Sherman Brothers, that sense of buoyancy and optimism and just fun and hope are things that we shouldn't disregard in theater.
Exactly.
Drama has a place, as it should, but there's something to be said for a good old-fashioned musical comedy.
Well, plus everybody was familiar with the movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody had seen that. This was kind of a different take on it in a live theater situation.
Yeah.
Now, you just did an online show called Call Me Elizabeth, which was excellent.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that. How did that come about? Just tell me a little bit about how all this came together.
Certainly. Well, I have been working on Call Me Elizabeth for about 3 years. I first started writing the show in 2017, and it had a stage reading in Chicago in 2019. And then I approached the Playhouse early in 2020, before the pandemic hit. And I said, hi, I know you have a wonderful history of championing new works, and I feel this is my home. I would love to do this show here as a kind of a test run to see how people respond to it, and hopefully have its world premiere at the Playhouse and then expose it to broader audiences. And I found some grants to support it, and we were all set to do it, and then the pandemic hit. So the in-person thing kind of went away, and then I had to do it digitally. And it's interesting. It became something to offer to audiences that we hadn't had that before, the digital streaming thing. And a lot of people I know that have watched the Youngstown premiere said, this digital theater is the first version of this that I've seen that I feel like I'm in the room with you.
Sure.
Because a lot of these streaming productions that we've seen have been like archival, like you're still in the theater. And the way we shot this was a 4-camera shoot, and they were, in the room with me. So it felt almost as if I would be in the Moyer room doing it.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got when I was watching it. It was almost like being in the theater venue and watching it.
Which makes me happy to hear, because I was like, that was my main goal. I haven't done much on camera at all in terms of TV or film stuff, so having my play be shown as its premiere in that medium was, kind of a hurdle for me. Like, I don't know how I will be in front of this, and you have to kind of tone down your performance a little bit to scale it to a camera. And I'm a big personality anyway, so I had to like consciously try my best to like, okay, I can't be that big with my face. But no, it's been wonderfully encouraging to have the warm reception here, and it will be streamed with a theater in Chicago in the next 2 weeks, and then it will be on Broadway on Demand next month.
Great.
So
That's fantastic.
all thanks to the Playhouse for letting me partner with them.
Now I got a question for you. When you do a one-person show, whether it's online like you did it or doing it live on stage, is it easier doing a one-person show, or is it more difficult? Now, Joe Scarvell always told me it's much easier doing a one-person show, because you don't have to worry about giving anybody a cue, you don't have to worry about picking up a cue, and if you forget where you are, well, you just jump someplace else and go to someplace else. Now, Molly Galano, on the other hand, who did a one-woman show for me that I wrote for her, said it's much more difficult because you don't have all those things.
Yes.
How do you feel?
I find it fascinating about Joe's perspective, the flip side of the coin, because I personally side with Molly. I mean, especially with what I just did, because there was no audience in the room. I had no reactions of laughter or intake of breath. I have no idea how it will play in front of people. What everyone saw was essentially my dress rehearsal that was filmed. So I have no idea, and I find it beneficial to have a scene partner. I'm an actor who likes to listen, and I pick up cues from others in the room. And when depends on the solo show, but I wrote it with like phone calls and sound cues to kind of spur my action as the actor. But a lot of it's just imagining, like you're imagining what the person is doing, and then you have to imagine what your response would be as a reaction. So I think it's a whole new level of difficulty.
Yeah.
And the energy that's required, again, depending on the length of the solo show, but you have to sustain that momentum. You can't let yourself lag at all. There are no breaks. You are there the whole time, and you have to capture them right away, and you can't let them go, because then you're done. There's nobody to save you. It's just you.
You're on a tightrope with no net.
Yeah, so it's a vulnerable thing, right? Especially if you, like me, at writing and producing and acting, it's like if they don't like it, they really don't like it, and you can't blame anybody else. So it's scary, but if it's well received, and if you feel like you've made an impact, then it's fulfilling. So it's unique in terms of theatrical projects, for sure.
Okay. Now, you have recently been appointed executive director, and by the time people have seen this, you will have been in that position for a while. Many people have come before you in the process of writing this book I'm doing. There's like countless people have been in and out of here as executive directors. What are your immediate plans? What are your priorities as you move forward in that position?
There are big priorities at this time. Right now, as we're emerging from the pandemic, our first order of business is stabilizing the organization and prepping it to re-enter the world under these restrictions. And as we get those restrictions lifted, how can we safely produce theater and still be a hub of artistic and creative community, right? I've been in close conversations with the board this whole time through our onboarding process of new staff, and we will be adopting a new 3-year strategic plan. The main goals that we have right now in this draft form before it's approved are completing the capital campaign for the building. We are very close to finishing fundraising for the exterior portion of the renovations. And once that has been completed, focusing on the interior infrastructure as phase 2. Also, equity, diversity, and inclusion, ensuring that all staff and board are equipped with vocabulary to be able to engage effectively and communicate with our diverse audiences and artists, and diversifying the people and leadership that we have to be reflective of the community of Youngstown. Also, organizational and operational sustainability overall. We will be establishing, we just have the Youth Theater Endowment Fund in the name of Joe Scarvell. And that will help support long-term youth theater and educational programming. And along those lines, we also want to establish a general operating endowment for the centennial. And that will be a campaign we'll be launching closer to that date. And as well as just a general cash reserve for maintenance and unexpected costs. I mean, no one could have seen the pandemic coming.
Right.
But fortunately, we've been in a place throughout this past year of having very generous support from local and state and national foundations and funding sources. So we are actually in a very sound fiscal position right now, and I just hope to continue that trajectory to be able to, keep our staff on and to be able to continue the high quality of work that we do, and to really more deeply engage with supplementary events with our shows. It's one thing to just, put on good shows, but I think people shouldn't underestimate the importance of talkbacks and supplementary engagement events to really amplify the themes that we're showing on stage and see how it applies to our local community.
We've done a few of those back in the arena, and they've been very effective.
Exactly. So just really, as executive director, my goal is to support the art on the business side and to enable us to build on the legacy that we have been so fortunate to have and take us into the next century.
Now, you've done a lot of work in Chicago. What was it about this opportunity and this position that made you leave a city where actually there's more opportunity theater-wise than there is here and come back here and do this?
Well, I've told my parents, they've always said to me, just stay in Youngstown, can't you stay here? And I'm like, if there was something for me to do here, I would stay. And now there's something for me to do here. And how fulfilling for me, Joshua Green, who is the incoming artistic director, Tyler Malaterno, who's the associate artistic director, all of us being products of the Playhouse in our youth, and to come home and to know the community, to know what it means to be in a show here, and to want to do what we can to give back and to help sustain that theater that has given us so much. So I'm always about finding meaningful work. And I do value my experiences in Chicago. After I graduated from Youngstown State, I had an internship at the Goodman Theater in Chicago, which is one of the leading regional houses. And that taught me from the top down, like, best practices. And then from then I went on to Writers Theater and worked with them in marketing and then finance. And so I've had a wide range of administrative experiences, and I hope to just bring all that knowledge from what I can to apply it to what works for the Playhouse.
Okay, good. And speaking of Chicago, we lost David Gentry not long ago, and you did Chicago with him up on the main stage, which was another one of those iconic things because nobody had done Chicago, I don't think, at that time. What were your experiences like in that show?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, the chance to work with David was unparalleled. And I was so, new. I was only 19 when I played that role as Roxy. And she should really be an older woman. I mean, that's the drama of it, that she's this chorus girl that hasn't had a chance to live her life. And so I would love to do it again, adding some life experience to it.
But he was wonderful in guiding me and our company through that process. I mean, we did know, but we didn't know how good we had it with him. And the support from the community and the audiences. I mean, I think that was one of the first shows that has kind of, jump-started this current chapter.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The response to that was just incredible. It was amazing. It was one of the first leading roles that I'd ever had. So the fact that he trusted me with that and supported me, and it was overwhelming. Like, oh, I can do this, and people are kind, and they want to see you succeed. And it was just, Roxy's a fun role because, to an extent, it's the actor. It's about the actor that's playing it. The Broadway production keeps on bringing it. The show changes based on whoever is in the role. Mm-hmm. So, like, for me to be in that role again was kind of a vulnerable thing, because it's like, it's about you. It's about what you bring to it. So that was really fun, and I'm so grateful to him for that, and I consider him, one of my most influential mentors.
He was extremely talented. He really was, and we were very lucky to have him. I worked with him numerous times, and always found him, to be. I mean, you always learned something from him.
Absolutely.
You always did. I need to take a quick break here, and thank our sponsor again, Dr. John Cox and We One's Pediatrics. Now, shortly before you came on board as executive director, the board kind of restructured the whole staff situation here. Mm-hmm. How is that going to benefit the Playhouse over the long run, do you think?
Well, that was a very thorough and thought out process with the board. I had actually been consulting with the board through the pandemic to kind of help guide these conversations about how to best utilize people's skill sets in a sustainable way that prevents burnout and that splits duties so that there is continuity in leadership over time. And for the longest time, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, most of the duties have been given to one primary person, one operations manager, one artistic director, which is a fine model if the organization is small enough for that one person to effectively do everything. And some people can. I know I can't at once. I know I'm a very productive person, but there's a point where you're like, I don't have the time. I know I could do this, but I can do a little bit of this one day and a little bit of this one day. So we went through what it takes to run a theater and broke everything out into job descriptions that balanced one another. And there are areas where each position will intersect and support other positions in collaboration with the board and volunteers. But it was very important to be able to ensure that this position is primarily for this type of skill set, and this person will be able to excel in doing what they do best in this field. This position can catch where those things are not being done, and they will focus on these things, and then sometimes they meet in the middle, because theater is a collaborative art form. So it's very exciting to me to have a team to collaborate with, and not be just the one person doing it alone, because that's a lot.
There's not many people that can do it. I mean, Bentley was a rare person. He was one of those people, he could do everything, and how he got it done, I don't know, but he did.
Yeah.
And there's not many of those around that have that capability. You stretch yourself too thin.
Right.
And something doesn't get done.
And Bernie and Jimmy, my immediate predecessors, did a fantastic job of placing the organization on an uphill trajectory by both of their knowledge, having worked here as actors in the past.
Right.
And they brought that comprehensive set of skills. But as we want to continue to grow the organization over the long term, in order to grow it, you have to have a little bit more help. So I'm the first to say you can't do it alone. So I'm excited about what multiple people can do and take ownership of the work we're doing.
Okay, good. Now you've referred to the pandemic several times. I don't think we need to explain to anybody what that is. And this theater was dark for over a year during that time. How do you go about getting that audience back?
I think people are ready. I think people are ready as soon as they feel safe and vaccinated to be able to come into a room and be exposed to joy, laughter, humanity together. That is what we've been robbed of during this whole time, is that lack of the freedom to even go to a restaurant and have the face-to-face and feel that sense of connection. And unlike any other art form, theater is what does that best, right? As an audience, as an ensemble, you can feel people breathing together and experiencing emotions together differently. So I think audiences are ready, and we did do a subscription, push this fall. Dr. Cox was very forward-thinking when the pandemic hit, as well as the board. They just decided, instead of trying to keep postponing, we're just going to go ahead and say, let's give it a year. Let's target May 2021 as our tentative 2021 season. And even with that, now we're looking at September to be the official big opening. Up till then, to kind of get people involved and to get audiences, some entertainment. We're hoping to do some outdoor events, some reviews, concerts, smaller scale things before we open the doors again, So we are planning those things in tandem with Josh as artistic director, and hopefully the slow build-up will position us to be ready to welcome people back, as the state allows with the capacity.
Yeah, it'll be a welcome thing, believe me. Now, as you know, you've heard stories even before you came. The Playhouse has been through many kinds of crisis situations over the years. You could probably write a book just on those. But when you've been around for 100 years, you're going to have those things. Moving forward, how do you go about not falling into these big crisis pits that they've been in before?
Well, this has been a huge part of our conversations with the board about having the ability to educatedly guess as to what those pitfalls might be. For instance, our biggest asset and our biggest liability is the age of this building. It is wonderful to have your own independent facility and a theater-specific facility built for live stage shows. But by the same token, there is so much work to be done with the facility. So this capital campaign that we are currently involved in will hopefully implement permanent structural fixes and with modern technology, modern engineering, to be able to head off structural problems. Another part of our planning is this cash reserve, to be able to have this pool of money if we happen to have a good season, and also in a normal season, taking a certain percentage out of a general operating fundraiser and saying 5% of proceeds from this fundraiser, we know it's going to go to this reserve fund, just in case something were to happen. So the panic sets in when there are no resources to catch it. So as long as we are able to kind of anticipate and continue to be on top of any problems, as well as personnel and communications issues. We just distributed our first, for our current staff, employee handbook with a 20-page list of policies and reporting procedures and conflict resolution, just internal to make sure that we are all on the same page and that everyone feels secure and comfortable in their roles and knows how to go about solving differences of opinion, because that's a huge thing too. As a collaborative art, theater is great, but it also means you have a lot of people with some great ideas and they might not always align.
Exactly, yeah.
So as long as we can have a common shared set of practices to get to a common ground, I think that's half the battle.
Okay. Now, we've talked about this before. What do you think that the Playhouse means to not only Youngstown, but just the whole general area?
Well, as we prepare for this 100th anniversary, it is, what an incredible feat to have an institution, let alone a theater, around for 100 years, to have seen so many parts of our community's history and to constantly be there for people to come together during times of crisis. Again, with the pandemic, it's the first time we've been forced to close our doors, but we've been around through the Great Depression, World War II, the steel mill crisis, Black Monday, all of that. And I think we need to continue to be a center of community and embracing different ideas, and a place of gathering, and not just for necessarily theatrical shows, but for people to come together and talk about issues and make forward progress as a community to improve the whole area for everyone. So I think theater has the power to be an agent of social change if we choose to use it for that.
Right. Now we're coming up on the 100th. By the time people see this, it'll be a lot closer to the 100th than what it is today. But where do you see, or where would you like to see the Playhouse be as it moves into the next 100 years? Say in the next few years. What level would you like to see the Playhouse move toward?
I would like when people say Youngstown, Ohio, the first thing you think of is the Youngstown Playhouse.
Right now, I have to explain to people, we have one of the oldest community theaters in America. Never heard of it. What do you mean? So many good people have come out of here and continue to stay here. And this area is so rich with talent and creativity. And I think, hard times, as the area has gone through the recession, actually sometimes forces people to embrace their artistic sides. A lot of good art comes out of challenges. And I think out of anything, the Playhouse is a symbol of that. Surviving so many challenges and still here and strong and resilient and thriving. Not just surviving, but thriving and being a beacon of what things can be. To be an example of how it can work and how the arts can really revitalize communities. We've been talking a lot with the board and with different foundations about the examples of the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, which the arts in Pittsburgh raise more income and revenue than the sports do.
Oh yeah, they do.
People don't know that fun fact unless you happen to be in the arts. So it's like, oh, well, we can have that power too. And working in collaboration with the other artistic organizations in Youngstown, everyone benefits from being stronger together and sharing resources and ideas. So I would love to see more collaboration with institutions like Stambaugh and Powers and the Cavelli Center and the Opera Western Reserve and Ballet Western Reserve. And while we do have, previous relationships with those institutions, the idea of an arts consortium to be able to, together with a big picture vision, focus on what we can all do to support the city of Youngstown and the people who live in it. So yeah, lots of big ideas, and hopefully.
But they're attainable ideas.
Yeah, I think so.
They're not
Yeah.
stuff that is impossible to do. And you brought up the point of all the crisis that we've had. The fact that we're looking at 100 years, it shows how strong the Playhouse is, because a lot of theaters, very few theaters, last 100 years. I mean, there are some here and there, but there's not many.
No, and I think it's a testament to the strong will of the people involved, the dedication of the board, the commitment of the volunteers, and most of all, the audiences. And the artists. I mean, we have a pool of 300 different people, artists, volunteer actors, and technicians that give of their time and talents. That is the true essence of a community theater, when everyone chips in. I'm not afraid to help paint a set or run a light board, however poorly. Don't ask me to do it because it'll be bad, but I'll be there if someone needs me to. I'll be the first to admit I know my limitations.
Biff Hartman told who was it? Lynn Nelson, when Biff was here. She and Lynn ran light board. I think it was for Come Blow Your Horn. And Biff told her afterwards, "It is the most stressful thing I've ever done. I'll never do it again."
Well, it's terrifying. Not here, but somewhere else that I worked. I was a summer stock, a company member at a Ohio summer stock theater. And when I wasn't in one of the shows, because we did a stock season and we were cast in like 3 shows out of 5. So if you weren't in a show, you were given another duty. Somebody thought it'd be a good idea to put me on light board. I think I ended Act 1 one night 15 minutes too soon with a blackout. And people had to come back and they had to restart. What happened? And then the next night there was a citywide brownout, so it wasn't my fault that the lights went out.
Kayla, I thank you for coming in this morning. It's been fun talking to you. And we're going to be seeing a lot of you, I'm sure.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for joining us on the Marquee, if I can get that out. And we will see you next time.